You're listening to the Coaching Life Podcast, episode 36. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Stewart, and I co-host this podcast with my good friend, Pat Martin. Pat and I are just a couple of guys who enjoy coaching. We enjoy being dads. We enjoy just talking about sports in general. But one of the things that we really want to get across in this podcast is our enjoyment of learning and our enjoyment of just getting better. And we hope that as we've turned the corner to a new year, you also will dive in and make a commitment to listen to this podcast on a weekly basis, but not just listen. We hope that you'll also make a commitment to put into practice the things that we challenge you with. And of course, we hope that you will share this podcast with others in as many platforms and opportunities as you have to introduce the Coaching Life Podcast to your friends and your family members. We just desire to be useful. We desire to help create significant change in our own lives. And if we could throw out a couple of ideas that have worked for us that just blesses somebody else, then we feel like we're being useful and fulfilling the purpose that we have here in doing this thing. Either way, it's a lot of fun. We hope you have a lot of fun listening to this episode, so we'll get right into it. It's episode 36 of the Coaching Life Podcast, and it starts right now. You ready to do this?
Ready.
All right.
Happy New Year.
Here we go.
2020.
Do it again. How have you been? I actually haven't seen, we sat here and chatted for a little bit before we hit record, but I feel like I haven't seen you in like 3 weeks. We haven't talked to each other much, so.
Good. I'm all right.
Good holidays.
Christmas is over.
So you're happy now? You have joy now that Christmas is over?
The happiness is seeped back into my life now that all the lights and trees and everything are down, so I'm feeling great.
It wasn't stressful at my house this year. It wasn't. I mean, it was great because both of my kids were back home from college, and when I took 2 whole weeks off, and I never came back uptown again. Never came back uptown to Athens. I stayed out there at the old homestead and went to the different families' homes that we had to go to, and that was it. It was kind of nice.
I had a really good holiday. It's
cool.
It was a good time. So,
well, good deal.
This is a new decade too. Is it a new decade?
Well, see, I remember back when the old Y2K thing was happening, and everybody called it a new century. But I don't think the century actually begins until 2001, right?
I think you're right.
Does it begin in?
Wait a second.
So would this decade actually begin next year?
The first century is 0 to 100.
So yeah.
So it would have to. This isn't. Wait. So why wouldn't the new century be 2000?
Well, maybe it was. Maybe it was just an argument that is a debate, and half those people were wrong.
Wow, caught me off guard there, and I'm thinking about it.
How old were you when Y2K was happening?
18.
Okay. So
yeah, 19, 18.
Did you have the tech knowledge then that you have now?
19.
Were you nervous about anything happening adversely?
No, because if you were paying attention, like if you were really paying attention to that, you knew that it wasn't going to be as bad as what they were saying it was going to be. At least that was my. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little naive. I always think
well, you were 18.
Nothing bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
I kind of still think that. You know why I think that, Coach? Because there is a universal neutralizer.
All right.
You know what that is?
No.
It's the Cleveland Browns. As long as the Cleveland Browns are absolutely horrible, which feel good about it because they are.
Why are we still talking about them? Their season is over.
Yeah. Well,
the Cowboys season is over.
But what you don't understand, though,
talk about baseball, bub.
This is the most optimistic time for Cleveland Browns fans.
It always is, isn't it? The off season.
But as long as they're bad, I feel like everything else balances every other bad thing in my life. So I'm good. This is our year, Coach. This is our year.
Well, yeah, you're 16-0 as of right now.
Well, we're
0-0.
We're
in the minds of the believers, you're 16-0.
I won't be doing any predictions, and maybe it might be season 3 of the Coaching Life Podcast at that time. But
you got to remember who your Browns are going to be going against for the next 10, 15 years or so.
Chase Young
in the division.
Bengals are going to screw that up.
You think so?
If Lucas is listening out there, the Bengals are going to screw it up. They're going to take Chase Young. Joe Burrow is going to Miami.
They're good.
And,
they're all excited about Tua declaring
Miami is.
eligibility. Yeah.
Yeah. You know why they're excited about Tua?
I have no idea.
Because they know the Bengals are going to take Joe Burrow. That's why
Well,
they're excited about Tua.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of seasons, this is season 2
Yes, it
of
is.
the coaching life.
Second episode of season 2.
Yeah.
Yep,
We snuck an episode in on everybody there.
That's right. We had a chance to interview Coach Shimmick from Waynesburg University before Christmas, and so we lined it up to be the first episode of the new year. But for us, this is our first chance to talk about what we're looking forward to in 2020. And I got you started about a month ago. We talked about a one-word challenge.
Yes.
And got you thinking about the possibility of doing your first ever New Year's resolution, but it's not a New Year's resolution.
Right.
It's a focus on one word that could have the potential to change your life.
Yeah.
And that's not hyperbole, folks. When I say that one word can have the potential to change your life, I'm a living testimony of this personally. The first time I did this one word that I selected, which the first time I did this, I chose the word consistency because there were a lot of things in my life. I had a lot of irons in the fire, and it caused me to sometimes not follow through with things, follow through with goals, and make these lofty decisions that were great, but I would stop them. And I realized that the thing that I was lacking through a process, which we're going to talk about that process here today, the thing that I was lacking the most was consistency in everything, like in all kinds of details. And so I just began with that word, and then I just started to flesh it out. What is consistency going to look like in the morning, from day one in the morning? Well, I said, okay, I'm going to consistently get up when my alarm goes off, not hitting the snooze button again. And I'll tell you, things like that.
Stuff.
Yeah. So that small thing, you may not even realize how much that small of a decision will change your life, has the potential to change your life, but it can. Because then what do? If you decide to get up, I mean, for me, then I hit the snooze button, I'm talking about an hour's worth of time that I'm gaining in the morning or more, depending on how early I started the alarm, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you can get a lot of stuff done when you're the only one up in the morning and it's quiet. So,
I'm already reminiscing about how this has helped me in the first week.
Because you had 1 week of your one word, right?
Yeah.
And I have no idea what your one word is for 2020.
Not yet.
You know,
I
what
know
mine
yours
is.
because
I couldn't hold it in any longer. I had to post it.
You stole our thunder.
So
Well, let me ask you this: when you were going through the process, I know we'll get to this in a minute. When you were going through the process of figuring out your word, because this is how I felt, it seemed like there was a few words.
Oh yeah.
That would have fit as well and done kind of the same thing. Did you have that too?
I always do. Because I journal, I write it down, I write things down, write my thoughts down, write my prayers down. Not all of them, but like during this process, I just get a notebook and say, this. I'm just going to start it, and I ask myself a few questions. I mean, the way I began this particular year was I do that now that I've been doing this one word challenge is reviewing the year before. And so what I'll do is I'll ask myself, hey, what was my word last year, which was build? And I'll do like a year in review. Like, well, did I meet the goal of building things in my life?
Sure.
And I said yes and no. I answered that question, honestly, which was in some ways yes, in some ways no. These are the things that happened throughout my life this past year in 2019 that I felt like I was able to build on some of the successes, some of the relationships, things like that. And I wrote those things down. And then I wrote down things like some unexpected blessings that took place in 2019. Your and our friendship and this podcast was an unexpected blessing. I wasn't planning on doing this. I didn't write this down at the beginning of 2019, but it happened. And it's been a good thing for not just me. I think it's maybe been a good thing for you. It's been a good thing for, hopefully, a number of people out there.
Right.
In Bangladesh and Japan and everywhere that, according to our podcast aggregator, we have all kinds of countries. I don't know how that happens. There's no one listening to us in Bangladesh.
I would. Hey, you know what? We should try to find those people.
If you're listening and you live in Bangladesh,
please
Kenya,
reach out to us.
Kenya, Africa is another place.
If you're outside of the U.S., reach out to us, please.
Send us an email go to the best way is just to go on Twitter,
right,
and get to our Twitter feed, the Coaching Life Podcast, and shoot us a message.
I do know I know at least a couple people from the UK that listen or have listened, because they're people that I know
Nice.
from the internet. So I know, from the UK, but
I know a couple people from British Columbia or from Canada. Yeah.
But I'd like to know
Because when we had Nathan on, I know he had his family tune in.
Right. Well, yeah, of course.
So
yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, one word really can change your life. And it will.
Can we revisit the idea real quick about, why one word as opposed to a goal, or why are we setting up here and kind of laughing at the idea of a New Year's resolution or something like that? I want to lose 30 pounds. I want to, read 100 books. Why is that not the best approach, or why would it might not be the best approach, for somebody?
For me personally, I think for me, this is a better approach than making a resolution or making a goal, a fixed goal on the calendar, or a fixed goal like that obviously is measurable. I want to lose 30 pounds by a certain date, or I want to read a book a week or a book a month, 12 books in the year or something like that. The thing that I like about the one word focus versus that kind of a resolution is that is focusing on one aspect of my life. And if I fail in that, then I just go back to the same old routine.
It's very easily
rut.
to revert back to maybe what you would call bad habits.
Sure. When you have a one-word focus for the year, a challenge to keep one word in your mind, keep it in front of you, and keep it in front of all your thoughts and your decisions and your words, and small decisions as well as big ones, then it's influencing every aspect of your life. It's influencing you physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, mentally, socially. Every part of who you are is focused on this word.
Right.
Fill in the blank, whatever that is for you. And you can't make a New Year's resolution that does that.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah. I'm reading Atomic Habit. Have you ever heard of that book?
I've read that book. I actually opened it up again and read a portion of it toward the end, the second to last chapter again, during the break. Because
really?
I've read it. Yeah, I read it last year, and it's absolutely phenomenal. If you want a comprehensive study of how habits work, how to break bad habits and start new ones, he has put habits into a science.
He has.
James Clear has.
It's great. It's a really good book. I'm only a couple chapters in, but I think those chapters kind of relate to what you're saying. And he talks about processes, outcomes, and processes, outcomes, and identity. And what you're talking about there in this one word challenge is something that changes your identity. It doesn't necessarily impact goals, but it impacts your identity.
Yeah.
And in impacting your identity, your goals change, or
they
they're
will.
achieved.
They will be, because you see yourself differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of saying, I am going to set a goal to exercise every day, you set a goal saying, I am a fit person.
Yes.
When you see yourself, that becomes part of your identity. I am someone who takes care of my body. I am a health conscious person. Then a health conscious person doesn't eat the things that someone who has a goal to stay away from sugar all the time.
Exactly.
Does.
It's
the same thing.
That really resonated with me because of my experience with the podcast and how I felt differently. I've always thought in my mind, I don't want to yell at officials during a game.
Sure, yeah. You got called out on it by my brother-in-law.
Well, we can talk about that. This may not be the best example. I don't apologize for that.
Because it was so bad.
Listen, I used my one word in that situation. Trust me.
Good.
But no, it's always after it happens, you think back and think, I wish I wouldn't have done that. But hey, if you want to change the way you behave, do a podcast or start writing about behavior.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying? And
no doubt.
When people start listening to you write about it, it puts an onus on you to change. A little bit, and then definitely when you're doing it, and then you get caught out, that strikes with you too. But
I released my first book, Building Champions, during a time when it was like right at the end of basketball season. So it was during tournament time of basketball season, and I remember when I went up into the stands and sat down, there were a couple of parents that were sitting near me that were, I could hear them saying, and they said it out loud. So they said it so I'd hear it on purpose. They're like, "We've got to watch what we say because of that chapter Chris wrote about yelling at officials or coaching from the stands and things like that." And I turned around and I said, "You got to watch what you say." I said, "Now all the eyeballs are on me and all the ears are on me." I said, I am. So that's one of the reasons why I took upon the task to be the DJ at the games, because I sat there, I kept myself busy. Yeah, I'm like, well, I got to find a song to play at the halftime, at the timeout.
That's a good idea. Yeah. You're not supposed to talk at the scorers table.
I'm not at the scorers table. I can shout if I want, but
you're don't focused on something. You're part of
and it causes you to think. It causes you to just kind of, I don't know. When you're doing more things than just one, like if you're just sitting and vegging out watching a game, you get too invested in it, right? But if my brother used to keep the book at baseball games, things like that, like go to the professional games, things like that. And I never understood people who did that. Like, what are you doing this for? Whatever.
Oh, and like sitting in the stands.
And it kind of keeps them engaged in a different way. They see the game differently than you do.
Yeah,
you think about the game, and I don't know. So I think it's good to find something to do during a game.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, bring a book and read it.
There's a tip for parents out there that find themselves yelling at the officials and coaches and players a lot.
Yeah, volunteer. Everybody's looking. They're always looking for a clock operator.
Yeah,
volunteer.
That's for sure. Was there any, you talked a little bit about what you did to come up with your word? I know that we talked about it, and it was almost immediate for me.
Was it? It wasn't for me this year.
I know it wasn't because I kept waiting on you.
You wanted to record this session before New Year's, and we didn't.
You're like, I don't have my word.
I'm like,
I don't have my word.
Yeah. In fact, I didn't. I still didn't until the first week of January.
Yeah.
And I went through that writing process and praying and meditating process of asking myself the questions. Those questions like, what do I need the most? Mm-hmm. What do I currently do really well? What do I need to improve in? And I just started writing things down, like words that came down, and then things like, what do I want?
Yeah.
The most. What do I really, really want more than anything else? And as I was writing the answer to that question, there were a couple words that I wrote, and the word that I chose, the word that was, I said, I like to think that these words are chosen for me, that in many ways this is God's calling of, this is who I want you to become this year,
Yeah.
And I don't think it necessarily is one that you have to find. I think that you might land on one, maybe by, maybe His Spirit just says that's the, like just kind of tugs at your heart a little bit and says that's the one.
Yeah.
But I wrote a couple words down and I thought, that hits me right there. That's me. That's what I want. Mm-hmm. And at first when I looked back at both of those words, I thought to myself, it seems a little bit arrogant and narcissistic. And then as I continue to think about what those words actually mean and what this one word in particular actually meant, and I wrote down some thoughts about that, the difference between my word and say something else, and I went to the dictionary. I looked up the definition of that word, and then I went and looked up. I just did a Google search for it, and quotes about this, and I looked up what people had said about it, and I thought, yeah, this is it. This is definitely it. And I went to the scriptures even, because I always do that, and it's hard to find the word I chose in the scriptures, at least in the context that I.
Is it in there?
Not the word itself.
Okay.
But I can share a couple passages that I think support what the word is that I selected. So
yeah.
I don't know. Am I teasing enough? Do you want to hear it? Do you want
the word?
I can't wait to hear yours. But.
Well, for me, I think it was just real good timing. And with you going through the process, I actually started to second guess myself a little bit. I was like, man, maybe I didn't think about this enough.
There's no real rules.
No, there's no rules. And I didn't second guess myself because it was something that came to me very quickly because I had been putting a lot of thought into it. Mm-hmm. And I guess I was for a few different reasons, but I had already been thinking about things like this. You know, what I needed to do to be, you know, to make 2020. And I was really focused on 2020, but just myself in general. And, you know, I wanted to work out more than I had because I experienced the benefits and the disadvantages of not, you know, working out on a consistent basis. I wanted to, you know.
By the way, I know you're a week in. Are you sore today? You started.
I cannot tell.
You couldn't sit on the toilet, could you?
I couldn't.
It's hard when you squat like that.
2 days straight now. It's killed me.
It does.
He's
doing starting strength.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is Mark Ripto's program. You know, 5 sets of 5 squats, deadlift, bench.
Yeah.
Rows, cleans. Yeah.
And it's funny because I have been lifting.
Not all of those every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just look that up.
But it'll light you up.
I was complaining to my wife Chastity. I said, I think that bar that we have is heavier than 45 pounds because it was difficult and I'm sore today. I can even today walking up, you know, to the studio today.
You did something that you weren't used to doing. I mean,
so I'm interested in knowing the next workout how I feel.
If I do, like, I recently went from doing 5 sets of 5 of squats to doing 3 sets of 8. Well, I did 20 rep squats all the way. I completed that.
And what did you do? 20.
Just one set of 20 reps, and I did that from Thanksgiving to New Year's, basically.
Yeah.
That was my. It was every Monday, Wednesday, Friday I would squat, and that would be how I would start the workout, and it was just that caused me to be sore, and
there's no doubt
because you deload, of course, like you don't start right at the
right, but
the
you got up to the same weight that you did your 5x5.
You're able to. I got close. I didn't get.
Oh, okay.
To that.
Still close. I mean,
because I don't know. I think 305 is where I was at.
I can't imagine doing 305 20 times right now.
I didn't get 305.
Of course, you've been doing it for quite a while.
I think I ended up with. I just wanted to do it for a certain amount of time because I know it just kind of just shocks the system a little bit, changes things up, changes the monotony, and so I did that. I think I got up to like 255, and then Christmas break came, and I took a whole week off, which that was a mistake. I thought it would be good. I read about how it would be good. Sometimes it's good to take, especially as a 47-year-old, take a week off, give your body some rest.
I think if you feel good,
I
don't want to do it
because I went back in, and it wasn't that I lost strength. Like I was able to go back in and I deloaded again and went back. But even pulling a lot of weight off and working my way back up again, I was really sore the first couple of days.
Yeah, I'm sore. I'm crazy.
But here's the thing. I guess this might bring us to your point. We could bring the conversation back to what's important about all this is you're going to be so sore that the next day that you're scheduled to work out, there's going to be extreme temptation to not do it.
So you almost know my word right now.
I don't, but folks, and remind your kids this: you got to work through soreness.
Oh,
there's a whole difference between being injured
hurt and sore.
First of all, there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. Sometimes.
Yeah,
somebody comes out of the game, we're like, oh, I'm hurt a little bit. Like, well, okay, are you injured?
Right.
Because if you're injured, we need to go see the athletic trainer. We set you an appointment with the doctor.
Yeah.
But if you're hurt, like if you got banged up, that you need to suck it up.
Yeah.
We'll give you a little bit of break, but it's time to get back in. I mean that.
If you go to a baseball game and you watch, you can pick those kids. You can pick kids out that understand that concept, and you can see kids that don't. You know what they are? They're the kids that work through it. They're kids that drink from the water hose.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to. There were things. There were goals, and I'm going to call them outcomes now because I'm reading Atomic Habits, and that's what James Clear calls them. There were outcomes that I wanted to achieve, and I struggled with them, and I couldn't figure out why, and so those, my focus was on those outcomes, and my focus was on both physical and mental.
Yeah.
Things. I wanted the word to drive both
to be
of those.
obvious in those two facets of life.
Yeah, and after looking into I got my word, but then I looked into the one word challenge. John Gordon and Dan Britton and who's the other author? I can't remember who.
Yeah.
Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
They kind of came up with this concept and wrote about it, and they did it. They did it a long time ago.
Before
Jimmy
they
Page
ever
and
wrote
Dan
about
Britton.
it.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of people that do it. In fact, this book I'm reading by John Maxwell, I just read a chapter this morning where he talks about how he has done this since like 1980 something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
just
maybe
personally, I don't know if it's a thing among major leaders in the world or what, but
that's great. Well, see, I read that Jimmy Page and Dan Britton did it in like '99.
yeah.
And then they wrote about it in
But
2012.
it's gotten real popular here recently.
So interesting. So maybe, I maybe gave the wrong people credit there, but they wrote about it, and John Gordon.
I don't think anyone's really patented it.
Yeah,
it's just
a great thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But as I was looking into it, the people that talk about it in a lot of different aspects, like financial and spiritual. And I'm like, yeah. And the thing is, when you do this in all of those venues of your life, you're going to reap benefits.
Yeah.
It's not just the focus. I have outcomes, I have goals. It's not just going to help me achieve those goals, but it's going to help me achieve other goals that maybe I don't even know that I want to achieve right now.
That's exactly
overall, it's just going to make me a better person. So, yeah.
What's your word, Pat?
My word is discipline.
Nice.
Yeah.
At the top of your list, man, you got to listen to Jocko Willink.
Every day.
You got to listen to Jocko.
I listen to Jocko.
Well, and on your reading list is Extreme Ownership, right? By Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. And you will appreciate discipline a lot.
Okay.
When you
Good deal.
Give them an ear. Yeah.
All right. I'll have to look into that.
I actually, the first
third one.
The last message. So it was the message that I preached at church between Christmas and New Year. So it would have been like December 30th. I focused on the concept of discipline and what it means. Not just and I a lot of times in that context, people focus more on the spiritual disciplines, but I focused on it more in terms of a holistic part of your life. That God desires for us to be the best we can be in this life that He's given us, and the best way for you to accomplish that is to understand what discipline is, and then apply it in your life.
Yeah.
And so
and you have to have balance. Balance is very important in everything. It's very hard to be a good spiritual person and not be a good physical person or a good person in the world.
Yeah.
So that goes hand in hand, and that's kind of the concept. This one word concept. It's going to put you on a path that helps you in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
And it's easier, so to speak, because I wouldn't say easier. Easier is the wrong word. It's not going to be easy.
It's simpler.
Because
simple isn't always easy.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
It provides focus. Yeah. It doesn't, and you're going to fail. There's going to be times when you're not going to live up to it, but just because you
don't fail twice in a row.
Yeah.
Someone wrote about that once.
And for me, like in my my words discipline, if I don't, if I fail, and in my mind I'm thinking I can't fail again, and I don't. That's me, asserting discipline into my life. So,
so what's it looked like for you so far? For you've had about a week living it.
I don't really know. So it's good.
Or maybe specifically. Practically speaking.
So I basically came up with 4 processes that I'm starting with. And I say starting because my last process kind of leaves it open. But the one thing I'm doing, I'm making sure I'm going to get at least 7 hours of sleep every day. I feel like
great process.
I feel like for me, one of the biggest things that hinder me is my sleep and my quality of sleep, my quantity and quality of sleep. It drives my whole day.
People don't understand how important that is.
Yeah, I
kids
know.
don't understand how important that is.
Oh, they don't. My kids they're horrible.
Yeah.
Well,
how much your athletic performance would increase if you appreciated the benefit of getting enough rest.
How many teams came off of Christmas break on a horrible sleep schedule? I know our team played Monday night. It was the first day of school back
your
from
basketball
Christmas break,
team?
and we played Monday night, and they were sluggish.
Sure.
And but that's why, because their sleep schedules are screwed up. Their daily schedules, everything's out of balance.
Their diet. That's one of the things the girls
Yeah.
were talking about in the weight room this past week was how it wasn't necessarily like one girl was saying, it's not necessarily that I ate horribly. I just ate differently. It was like I ate all day long. Like we're watching football. We watch football games all day long. Well, what am I doing while I'm watching? I have to have something in my hands.
Yeah.
Right? I have something. I got to be eating something. Oh, we have chips. I'll eat chips. All right. She said, I don't do that every day. Like I go to school and I've got a regimen. I eat in the
busy,
morning,
yeah.
and then I eat lunch, and then I eat after I work in the evening.
And
that's
that
it.
changes things. Such crazy stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
if you go out there, who was I listening to? I was listening to Jordan Peterson.
Oh yeah.
We talked about this the other day, talking about what you eat impacts the bacteria in your stomach,
Yeah.
which has an impact on your mood.
Your mood.
The type of bacteria
So an
in your
emotional
stomach.
impact on you.
Yeah.
A social impact on you.
Right. So if you changing stuff like that up, it's
Yeah.
going to have impacts on you.
Absolutely.
So in order to maintain that, especially for me, I'm thinking it's an amount of discipline. But quality of sleep is a big thing for me. And one thing,
How are you getting that 7 hours?
I go to bed at a certain time, and I'm not going to wake up at a certain time. Or if I know I have to wake up at a certain time in the morning, I'm making sure I'm going. Because at first I thought I'm going to set a schedule. I'm going to be in bed by 10 o'clock.
It's impossible.
Can't.
For our lives, it's impossible.
Yeah, I didn't get home
Every
the other
evening
night.
looks different.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that was my first thing, and that kind of helped me come up with my last process. But so yeah, it's going to vary, but that's why I came to the point. I want to make sure I get 7 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
7 hours really isn't great. I think
No, it's not. I think 9.25 is ideal for someone who is active or an athlete or something.
Right.
But that seems like a lot. But I mean, some people can. You listen to Jocko, he's gonna be like, I can get 4. I live
Yeah.
on 4.
right. I know.
And he's like, as SEALs, that's the way we were. And
Maybe some people are like that. You know what I mean? Because people will say, well, you got to have
maybe
this much
they're
sleep.
forcing themselves to be like that. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. I can't. I don't deal well without sleep. And I know that I feel like from experience, when I get sleep, 7 hours, less than 7 hours is when it really gets me. So that's how I came up with that. But when I get it, it's a different world out there.
I feel it. I feel it around. It's getting. I'm appreciating sleep more now, but it was always about 5 for me. Where if I got less than 5, I was going to really feel sluggish. But now I've got my little alarm thing set, my bedtime alarm on my phone set to where you can say how many hours you want to get to sleep. How many hours of sleep do you want? What time do you want to get up? And it says, okay, I'm going to give you a reminder that it's time to start getting ready for bed at this time at night. And I have it set at 7.5 hours right now as a goal. So when that thing goes off in the evening of reminding me it's time to start winding down, the first thing I do is turn the phone off. Well, don't turn it off. Put it down.
That's one of my processes.
One of the reasons we don't get quality sleep is because we're looking at that
Yes.
phone too late.
I'm guilty, and I know that impacts us. I mean, it's true. Blue light, television, phones, that impacts the quality of your sleep. So that's another one of my processes.
Turning it off.
Yeah, no blue light at least a half an hour before I plan to go to sleep, and I've been trying to do an hour because during that time is when I've been reading.
Right.
Which is one of my I want to be
And
a
that'll
reader.
help you fall asleep.
It will.
It
and
will.
I feel like it has, like this first week. So yeah, no blue light, no TV, and I love. Here's the thing: I'm a person that here's an identity thing. I've always went to sleep with a television on. That's the type of person that I am. I go to sleep with the television on.
Do you set like that sleep timer and it goes off sometime in the night?
It's just on a night.
You wake up.
I'll wake up in the middle of the night and turn it off. That's horrible.
Wow. Yeah.
Right. That's horrible for you. You shouldn't wake up.
Yeah.
That's not good. So yeah, that's what I would do. Huh. I felt like it calmed me, but in reading,
it's a stimulant.
It's not good.
Yeah.
So I'm
TV
taking
is a
stance
stimulant. It's not a depressant. It's not going to calm you. Reading, on the other hand, it will fatigue you.
Yeah.
And it'll cause you to fall asleep.
I've felt that already.
Yeah, you'll get tired. And it's frustrating. I get frustrated trying to read at night, which I do as well. But I get frustrated because you want to read more, but you find the book is falling in your lap or your head's falling you're like, I got to put this down. I can't stay awake.
Yeah.
But that's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
Just go to sleep.
But see, right there is a good example of the way that process of saying, okay, I'm not going to have TV, I'm not going to have my phone an hour before. Now I won't. If someone calls me or texts me, I'll probably respond to it. But I'm not going to be, constantly.
Yeah, you told me you're
phone.
not doing social media in the evening. Right?
That's another process. So after 5 p.m., I'm not doing. Here's one thing that I do. I would assume that a lot of people do this, but I'll go ahead and admit that I do it. I waste so much time on social media and YouTube.
Yeah.
So much time.
Oh, they are time wasters.
Let me tell you, this is going to sound like a small thing. So, no social media, internet after 5 p.m. I want to tell you 2 times this week already, my family has sat down and played. We played euchre. They're teaching the boys how to play euchre.
Got a deck of cards out.
Yeah. And it's almost shameful the time that you give up for those other things.
Yeah, that is true. I heard a real short podcast that I listen to sometimes on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. It comes out. It's called Mindset Mentor by Rob Dial. It used to be the Monday, Wednesday, Friday motivation podcast, but it's just only 10, 15 minutes or whatever. And the one I listened to this morning, he was talking about how the number one reason for all of humanity's issues, negative issues, he said, is that we lack the ability to do nothing. To sit and do nothing. He said, if we're raising a generation of any type of person, the one that we're raising is, I'm talking about sitting in a room, nothing on, nothing in your hand, no reading, nobody else. You're not just sitting and being still with just you and your thoughts, basically, which is in essence meditating. Mm-hmm. And he said that most people in the world can't handle it. In today's world especially, can't even handle 15 minutes of it. And he said he has learned to go, like he did a retreat where he did this like 10 hours a day. And he said it'll drive you crazy if you because and his thing is he's like, we think about it. Some people can't even handle, they can't handle not having a phone in their hand.
Yeah.
For more than
I've caught myself picking my phone up and then I put it back down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when you're playing euchre. So you got to put the phone somewhere else.
Well, no, not when. Well, I haven't done that.
But that'll happen.
But it'll happen.
Oh yeah.
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 Yep. It's a habit. Right? It's a habit. So
it is. So what you've described there, and I'm not suggesting that you're done, but to bring it back and make a point for our listeners is, you've mentioned 3 specific things, 7 hours of sleep, no blue light, no TV after 9 p.m., 10 p.m., something like that.
Yes, well, half an hour
before whatever time you're going to bed, no social media after 5 p.m. You're describing a very specific system of living, which is, in essence, discipline. And that's what your one word is.
Right. And my 4th process is adjust and adapt.
Just on a daily basis.
I'm horrible at it. I would like a schedule to a goal for me, and if I fell off that schedule, I would lose it, and then I would lose my discipline. Right. So I know one thing, that in order for me to be disciplined,
so that's going to help. Learning flexibility and being able to adapt to changing scenarios or changing environments is going to help you to not fall off the discipline wagon.
Exactly.
So to speak.
Yep.
That's good, man. It's a hard one to quantify, but it's a good thing to have in front of you every day. Like, it's not as easy to quantify as 7 hours of sleep, turn the phone off at this time.
I'm almost cheating.
But it's going to happen to you every day.
Yeah.
You're going to need to apply that discipline every day.
Yeah.
So
you could almost use that as a word, adjust, adapt. Those are one word.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm kind of cheating with that, but that's how.
Was that one of the other words that you were thinking about possibly using when you said you have more than one come up?
I think consistency was one. I can't really remember. I know consistency was one. Strive was another. That I kind of thought would kind of put me in the same place. But immediately when we talked about it in the morning, and then we got together here in the studio later that morning, it came to me, and I thought, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I could tell. I remember because you said you almost revealed it back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my wife, that was the way it was with April. She had her word before Christmas. I don't know what process, but she just knew. She said, I've known what mine's going to be for 2020. And she started playing. There's a song with the title. The title is just her word.
Oh, that's awesome.
Her word is shine for 2020.
That's perfect because you want to remind yourself of your word.
She put that song on a loop one day in the house. We were doing some catch up on some projects in the house. And I'm like, are you playing the same song over and over again? She said, yes. And I'm like, okay, that means don't even ask again. just let her do it. So yeah. But no, that's good. It was a constant reminder, and it kept her in the flow that day. So yeah.
And your word?
That's awesome. I selected the word significance for 2020. And it was an unusual word, I thought, for me to select as a one-word goal or one-word challenge, because initially when I was taking notes and this word kind of came up when I was answering some of those questions about what do I need more than anything, what are some things that I have succeeded in, what have I failed in, what do I desire, what does what would my optimal life look like, things like that, and I would just jot some things down, like in answering the question, I'll be real vulnerable here. In answering the question, what do I need? I wrote in my notes, I need to be significant. I need to be useful. I need to be, I need to be, and one of the words I put in there was, I need to be important. And I immediately rebuked myself for saying that.
You shouldn't have.
Because I thought, man, that's so egotistical to say I need to be this. But here's the thing though. Here's the thing about the process. Don't cheat the process. That's what came to mind. And that was my honest thought. And I can't even believe that I'm sharing it with you all here today, because I didn't want that. Like there are some words that shouldn't be my word, right? But I remember, I was reading John Maxwell's book. The book that I'm reading is from John Maxwell, and it's called The Power of Significance. And that's one of the things I did. I went on Amazon. I just typed in the word significance, and I looked through the books.
I saw that book.
This is actually a fairly recent book. I think he wrote it in 2017. Real short, and it's amazing, because he is saying a lot of the things that were the reasons I landed and determined this word as the word that I would go with for this year. And one of the words that he had selected in his journey of doing this for several years was the word failure. And I thought to myself, that's a weird one word. But then I thought, no, that's good, because what he ended up saying was he said, I know I'm going to fail a lot. And every time I fail, I want to remind myself, how can I learn from this and get better? So he just kept failure in front of him, and I thought, okay, that's interesting. And so for me, as I thought and prayed more about significance, I thought, how does significance look? What does it look like in a coach's life, for example? And or in my, like, the life that I'm living right now. I'm not necessarily coaching, but what am I like? So I'm not winning any championships. I'm not winning any games. And the first thought that came to me was, success is winning, is being that person that's winning those games, winning those championships. Well, it's more than winning, and success is defined a lot differently. But I'm being general here. And I'm saying it for the purpose of being able to say this. If success is winning, significance is helping others win. And so I think the key there is, how do you define winning, right? And so being successful is fill in the blank. But then significance is helping others to be successful. And while something like success leaves a fingerprint on the world, where the world around you, and you built something and that people will remember, things like that. You left your mark because you were successful. I think significance, the difference is significance will leave a lasting imprint on people's lives. Success may not do that. So everyone who's been successful may not be significant, but every single person in this world who's ever been significant is successful.
Wow, that's a great word.
And so, the big thing that kind of hit me was, for the longest time, I think there are 3 ways of living. If you look at just living your life, just on a daily basis, there are 3 types of lives that people live. There's survival, there's success, and then there's significance. And I thought to myself, there have been a lot of times where I've just been surviving, just getting through the day. I just want to get through the day. Just want to get through this month. Just need to get through this, this whatever this is. And just like seems like every time you get through something, something else comes up. It's like I just need to get through this. And that I decided, a couple of years ago, I don't want to live that way anymore. I want to be successful. And so how do I become successful? Well, I decided that I'm going to read more than I do other entertainment. I'm going to exercise more than I ever have. I'm going to change my nutrition habits. I'm going to do some of those things that are going to help me to create areas of my life that are better, and it's going to make me hopefully help me to become more successful, and it opens up doors for me to have other engagements in life that help me become successful. And then I guess this year, as I look at where do I want to go this year, the answer is I want to move. I'm not suggesting that I've cornered the market on success. There's a lot of areas that I would love to be a lot more successful in. But I want to focus on significance instead.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm at.
I feel like the difference there that you're describing is natural in human beings. And Jordan Peterson talks about things like this, and Russell Brand. You listen to Russell Brand? Yep. He talks about things like this.
Yep.
As human beings, we're happiest in our lives when we're helping other people.
That's the truth.
So, really, when you think about that, success is that, or at least a form of it.
Yeah. Success may not be helping other people, but significance is always going to be helping other people.
Yeah.
It will always include how can I
if you're significant, you're successful. Yeah, that's what you said that.
Yeah. I think one of the other big differences between the two, I think to be successful, you consume knowledge that is existing, things that other people have written, things that other people have taught. You learn data that's out there, and you use it for your benefit or for the benefit of a team or whatever. News, you just gain as much as you can for the benefit, for the purpose of being successful. Significance is creating knowledge. It's doing something newsworthy that other people can benefit from. I think that's the big difference. That's the shift in mindset that I'm having right now. And so you asked me if there was a scripture that uses that word. Yeah. That was a difficult thing because significance and having that as part of your identity, it can almost seem self-centered or self-seeking in a way. And so it's hard to find anything like that in the scripture. But here's the truth. The first place I landed was in the New Testament, in Philippians 4:19 says, "And my God will supply all your needs according to his riches and the glories of Christ." And so God sees you as significant, and he will provide for you what you need. But I thought I need to find something in here that speaks of this more. And Psalm 8, the entire psalm, and I'll only read a portion of it, says this: "When I observe your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you set in place, what is the human being that you would remember him? A son of man that you would look after him? You made him a little less than God, and you crowned him with glory and honor. You made him ruler over the works of your hands. You put everything under his feet, all the sheep and oxen, as well as the animals in the wild, the birds of the sky, and the fish of the sea that pass through the currents of the seas. Lord, O Lord, our Lord, how magnificent is your name throughout the earth." And I thought to myself when I read that while it's easy to assume that we are insignificant in the grand scheme of things, and I've even emphasized this before to people when I talk about just the the greatness of God, and the sovereignty of God and how big He is, and how it's really impossible to have a big view of God if you've got a big view of us. You're going to have one or the other. You're either going to have a big view of man and a small view of God, or a small view of man and a big view of God. And so it's hard to consider the fact that, well, how are we significant then? And then you read something like that, and you read His goal in creating us and what He wants for us as we live in this world, and that seems pretty significant. In God's purpose in creating humanity, there is great significance in men and women, in who we are, in the people that He's created it. Just our very ability to reflect His glory in our bodies, in our lives, is incredibly significant. It gives us significance in this life. And so, I think it's easy for someone who's a Christian to constantly spend all of your time thinking about the next life, right? Thinking about it, thinking about who we call eternity, something that happens after this one. But the reality is, eternity for the person who has faith in Christ is now. It begins that moment. Eternal life is something I need to be living now, which should be the best life I can possibly live. And so that's it.
That's significant.
That's it for today, right? that's where my focus is right now.
Good stuff.
So so the specific things, the system, and the processes that I'm looking for is, how can every day, one of the questions I'm answering is, what can I do for someone else today that is going to be significant? Because it's not about doing big things; it's about doing a lot of little things, And I think one of the things I got to figure out is, I'm still answering this question. If I want to figure out what significance truly means to me, I need to answer this question: what is the most important thing that I do? And that's a hard question.
That you do, or that you can do?
Well,
I don't know. I'm asking you.
The most important thing to me, who I am, that what I do or who I am, I guess that could be two different things. But my point is, I do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like I do a lot of things, but do I really do anything really well? In some ways, it's me wanting to simplify and say, let's find one thing, and let's just really do it well. And it may be more than one. It may be a couple things, but
yeah,
I don't know. I'm still focusing on that.
You're a pretty good podcast host.
So just do that one. Just quit my job, quit everything. Just do that.
Not yet. We haven't quite.
And that's not necessarily
yet.
The point, I guess, either. So
maybe season 4 or season 5,
we'll
get to the some like MSNBC will reach out to us or something like that.
We have a big following in the state of West Virginia. Did you know that?
Is that a big? Is it's?
I went over there.
Out above
my wife's family is from there, and we had Christmas over there, and big household full of people, and a number of people came up to me and talked to me about different episodes and things like that.
Do you know Pat Martin?
So, that's exactly what they're saying. Like, is there any way that we could get him to send us like a signed photograph or something? So,
shoot, yeah,
that guy's voice that you on the podcast with, it's like velvet. It's like
that was my biggest worry when we came into the podcast, is my hick accent.
Man. You've got the perfect radio voice. You got that deep voice.
You're just spreading it on thick right now. Oh boy. So yeah, one word. Listeners out there, take the challenge. Read up on it a little bit. It's all over the internet.
And for those of you who listen to us because you're looking for baseball stuff and or youth sports analogies and youth sports ideas and things like that, there isn't anything better that we could give you to begin. As you're getting ready to focus on whatever season you're in. If you're in football, you're in the off season. Soccer off season. Baseball is getting close to the preseason right now. You're in off season still. Basketball is in season. Wherever you are, whatever you're coaching, whatever your leadership role is, strength training your year round, you can't find, you will not, the best thing that you can do for yourself as a coach, as a parent, and as a player is figure out what your purpose is for this year. What is that one thing that you're going to focus on and just make it one word. So do it. Take this challenge. Take some time. It's not too late. Just because you didn't do it at New Year's doesn't mean that you can't do it. Do it. Tell us tweet us. Tell us what your one word is.
Yeah, that's
Send
a good
us a
idea.
message.
That'd be great if people out there are going to step up and do it and and let us know.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be awesome.
Heck, it's one way for us to figure out if we actually have people listening. Right? That's why we like having you send us. We get a couple emails and we're like, oh, we actually do have a listener in Michigan. That's cool. We actually do have someone listening to us at all.
Right.
Right. We got to get Wes Swain on because he's always retweeting.
He's a supporter. We'll get Coach Swain on.
That's good.
I think we can get.
He would be if we have like a number one listener of 2019. Coach won
Swain.
that. Yeah, he won that number one listener.
I love his Twitter personality.
Yep,
he's got a great Twitter personality.
I do too.
So,
you got those kids in the weight room.
Oh,
He's
awesome.
celebrating them every time they're there.
Yes,
yeah, very positive.
Yes, I love that. Every time I see those pictures of those, and they're junior high, even younger kids in there too.
Oh, yeah,
getting them started early.
Yep.
But, hey, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to this season 2 and everything
Let's get
that's
it.
involved with it.
Let's get after it.
Thanks for listening.